Well, Jeff Johnson, my husband, speaks so highly of you. And he even said I could say this. He's got a man crush on you. It's a man crush. I think lots of men have men crushes on Ben Davis. Hey, everyone. It's Lisa J here with the Mindset with Lisa J podcast show. I'm thrilled to have Ben on today. This is Ben Davis, you guys. First, I always start the show with a call out to people to engage in mindset. You guys, when we harness the power of the mind, we can retrain our brain and recreate our business, our life in the world. And there are 2 spots left at the Mastermind Retreat in Tuscany. Yep, that's this summer, June 8th through the 14th. It's a couples retreat, you guys. How kind of cool is that? I've done 30 mastermind retreats and I've never done a couples retreat. So this is really cool to see couples coming together and saying, even if we don't work together, some of them do, but even if we don't work together, it matters that we're on the same page. Check out lisajcoaching.com and see if the Tuscany Mastermind Retreat is for you. So that's my commercial for the day. Let's jump into our great conversation with Ben. Again, welcome, Ben, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. You got me so excited about Tuscany and only 2 spots left. There's some sense of scarcity here, and Lauren's in the other room. So after we're done, I might be selling her on Tuscany.
We'll have to chat. I know Jeff Johnson would love to have you there.
Yeah, let's just make that commercial irrelevant. Let me take those last 2 spots. So.
You're awesome. Oh, I love that. So many interviews that you've been on, podcasts that you do and have been on. I want to talk about you and Lauren. So I'm always going to be saying Ben and Lauren because it's remarkable. It's remarkable that the 2 of you are aligned in your entrepreneurial venture, that you launched it together in 2008, the Gents Place. So it's always Ben and Lauren on this podcast show. Is that good?
That's right. Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. We've been together since we were 16 years old. And so we have a lot of history together, which means, I try to joke around and say, they used to call me this in high school with my kids, and Lauren's right there to say, I was there, they didn't call you that. There's a lot of history here and a lot of growing, and we've seen couples stay together for a really long time and some that haven't. But what we've done through starting our own business, multiple businesses, and raising a family is that we both have to be growing at the same speed, I think, but not necessarily in the same direction or in the same things. I may be growing in business and she may be growing in another area, but for us, it is all about growth and having a very similar mindset, which I know you love to talk about. So that's, there's probably a lot of keys to our success, but almost 20 years in marriage and growth is a big part of it.
That's beautiful. And I love that language that it's the speed of growth. So both of you could be growing in different directions or different capacities of interest. But that is both the same passion for it and the respect of each other's passion, right?
Yes. Yeah, because there's some things, frankly, she's interested in that I have very little interest in. But, and I'm sure she would say the same about things that, I know that because I try to talk to her about some things and she's like, I have no interest, but because you're interested, I'm going to listen. And because it's you.
That's
but
so
yeah,
cool.
It is. It's having respect for what the other person's interested in and supporting them in that journey, because if one person's growing really fast and the other person's kind of sitting still, that's where we've seen a lot of marriages break apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could you share with us too, I know you've always been entrepreneurial. I read your bio. I've watched everything about you. You've been an entrepreneur since you were a kid. Was Lauren always entrepreneurial, or did you pull that out in her?
I definitely pulled it out in her. There's people that I think are primarily wired or have a need for certainty, and then others that have almost the exact opposite. Their primary need is variety or uncertainty. And so I definitely was the primary need of uncertainty and variety, and she was the exact opposite. And so it has been a challenge with her in entrepreneurship because there's not a lot of certainty. In many cases, it's a roller coaster ride of uncertainty, but the excitement of doing something new, doing something that people haven't done before, that's where we've really connected. We like doing things that haven't been done before. We share in that passion, and we're competitive. So if we're doing things that the industry hasn't seen, or that we're doing better than our competitors, then we align around that, kind of rally around that together as entrepreneurs.
I want you to talk about that, because there's a specific story that you shared on another podcast about now that you're moving into your 40s, the services are an interesting, that you have new ideas, because that you are growing as your business grows, your business is growing as you grow. So I want to get to that. Could you please just start with this, with the beginning at 2008, how the idea of the Gents Place came about?
Yeah, so I was working at an internet-based insurance startup. I was a 5th employee there. We grew the company to over 100 people, working for a brilliant man, Harvard MBA, founder of the Bain Consulting office in Dallas, head of global recruiting at Bain, $2,000 an hour he charged for his time. And I really got my honorary Harvard MBA, working with him for 3.5 years. That was Goosehead Insurance, which is now a multi-billion-dollar insurance company. Recruited all my best friends from childhood to come work there. I was having so much fun. But as you mentioned before, I've started businesses when I was a kid in college, and I told Mark I had a 5-year plan. I didn't want to work for him after 5 years. I told him that when he hired me. I was very transparent. And so I was always looking to start my own business. And in 2008, I was ready to do it, and had no experience in the hair industry. The Gents Place is this, I call it a country club meets speakeasy meets barbershop, and Jeff has experienced our services there. So it's a relationship business. It's one where guys are connecting, but fundamentally the core service is offering haircuts and shaves and hand and foot repairs, we call it, and a bunch of things I've never done before, had never done before, and haven't done since. I don't cut hair. I don't do straight razor shaves. And so, but this business is interesting to me. And in 2008, I said, man, I really hate getting my hair cut. I'd like to do something about it. I'm going in as a consumer, and my needs aren't being met. And so the entrepreneur in me is, I'll just do it myself. The challenge was, it was 2008. And it was the summer of 2008, and I walk into Mark Jones' office, and I say, hey, I'm out of here, man. I'm going to start my own business. I told you 5 years, it's 3.5. I just can't do it anymore. And he said, okay, well, he's a consultant, trained management consultant at the highest level. What are you going to do, Ben? I'm going to start this luxury hair business. And he's like, you don't know how to cut hair. A luxury, like, do you realize how bad the economy is? Like, this is the worst economy I've ever seen in my life. We were heading into the Great Recession. I also had a son that was 6 months old that had a 12-hour open heart surgery that saved his life. So here Mark is saying, haircutting, you have no experience. Luxury, really bad idea to start something at a high price point. Your child, what are you going to do about health insurance? He has more open heart surgeries to come. And, maybe I was 25 years old, maybe it's naivete or ignorance or, confidence or false confidence or whatever, maybe a whole blend of everything. But I ended up jumping in and doing it and opening in December 2008. I got an SBA loan 2 weeks before Lehman Brothers collapsed. My banker is calling me saying, hurry up and spend the money before we take it back from you. But despite all of that, I still did it. I was just so enamored, I think, with entrepreneurship and manifesting my own destiny and doing my own thing and taking care of my kid, whatever happens to him, at least I'd have control over it. And in December, we opened on the day of my son's second open heart surgery. So at 1 year old, he's in Fort Worth, having a second open heart. I am working as a front desk receptionist my first day in business from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. in Frisco, which is about an hour from the surgery, the hospital where the surgery was taking place. I worked all day long as a receptionist, and then I drove to Fort Worth to be with my wife and my son after the heart surgery. And there were a lot of circumstances that we had to open that day. We didn't have any money. We had pre-sold some gift cards. We had no hot water. Our members are wanting refunds. I had to open that day, and the surgery was that day, and we just said, look, we're going to have to make it happen. So yeah, my entry into entrepreneurship was rocky. I wouldn't wish it for anyone, but at the time it seemed completely normal to me. And I think that's the craziness of maybe having an entrepreneurial brain like I have.
I get that. Wow, I didn't know that last part of the story. Wow, that's remarkable, Ben. So how much did just this, I get it, entrepreneurialism and the passion for entrepreneurialism, but how much of intuition that you just said, no, this is the time, no, this is the place, no, this is the idea. How much of your own sense of intuition did you lean into?
Yeah, my faith is incredibly important to me, and I can't explain any other thing other than God was telling me to be at that place at that time, and it was just meant to be that way, because there's no other. When you apply logic to everything that we were doing, it is illogical. My Harvard MBA boss is saying, this makes no sense. You're making an insane amount of money as a 25-year-old. We're going to take this company public soon. You have no experience in it. Like, everything was wrong with that decision, but I felt incredibly called to do it. And so it is, for me, it is unexplainable. And if someone said, hey, Ben, I'm 25 years old and it's a terrible economy, I have no experience in this industry, and my kid has health problems, should I do it? Should I start the business? And logically, I would say, are you insane? Like, of course you shouldn't. But because of my experience and because of my faith, I would ask them different questions and say, do you feel called to do this? Yeah. Like, do you feel like you have to do it? Are you going to regret not doing it? And when you ask some of those questions, you can see it in someone's eyes. They're like, I have to. And it's like, okay, well then you have your answer, right? You've answered for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so powerful. One of our mindset reset mantras is what the real definition of faith is. And we come with that with what's the opposite of faith. And the opposite of faith is sight. If you can see it, if you can see your full business plan, and you can see, the revenue of 2030, 2040, that's not faith. That's logic, and we need logic. That's rational thought, and we need rational thought. That's a great business plan. That's a financial P&L statement. And then there's faith. And the opposite of sight is faith.
Yeah.
Where you just are pulled to it. I know, I just have to do it. No explanation that can come from rational thought. I just feel called, and that's enough. And that can move mountains.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly changed the entire trajectory of our life. No question about that.
Before you get into the next step, which is franchising, my favorite conversation right now, because as I shared with you before, I have some clients that are coming to the Tuscany Mastermind Retreat. They have retired young, and they're looking for their next adventure, their next business adventure. And they asked me as their business coach, mindset coach, what about franchising? I'm like, I don't know anything about franchising. So I want you to talk about franchising. But I know my listeners are wondering what happened with that heart surgery. How did your son get through that? How was that for you to show up in the hospital after working 12 hours in your new business that just opened? What was that like for you, and how did your son get through that?
Well, you talk a lot on your podcast and your content about purpose and like what's driving you, what's the why behind what you're doing. And for me, almost 17 years later with him, he is a very big part of the reason why I'm in business, why I stay in business, and why I'm really focused on growing my business. So there's definitely a higher purpose there in being there for him, because it has been a really big challenge. He's had 4 open heart surgeries. His last one was last year. The one last year was unsuccessful, and so he had to go back in and get a heart valve replacement. And he's at a point now where he's playing competitive basketball. He was even discovered by an NBA player several weeks ago saying, this kid has the most amazing shot. I've played with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, and so he's found this mentor in a former NBA player because he's so skilled and he's so determined to be his best. He's a fighter by trade, and so I've just been enjoying the journey with him. But when I think about times being tough or why I'm doing this, it's really easy for me to make that connection because there's needs, surgeries, just all kinds of challenges that he's running into that if I don't provide, then he's not going to have those. So it's been a challenge, but it's also it's been a force in my entrepreneurial journey that has caused me to push through things that maybe other people who didn't have as much purpose they may have given up.
Yeah. And what a beautiful testament that you said your son is your inspiration. He's the example of a fighter. I mean, he fought for his life. He's fighting even today. He's 17 years old? 17 years old. And
what's even crazier is he was named after my grandfather, who is a professional boxer, literally a professional fighter. And so, yeah, aptly named and behaving according, to his grandfather's.
Oh, man, there's no mistake here. What's his name?
Yeah. Pierce.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, so franchising.
Yeah, let's talk about what was next after the Gents Place. I think you had 11 locations and then you started franchising, or did you start franchising before these 11 locations? Yeah,
we started a little sooner than that. So we had 3 open, another one on the way. So we had 4 locations, 2 different states though. And so we'd proven the model where I could manage something remotely and had to develop all of these systems that, I would later call franchise systems. But we had all of these systems in place early on because I couldn't be in 2 places at once. So in 2016, 8 years after starting, we launched the franchise business, brought on some amazing partners. So Emmitt Smith is a Hall of Fame running back from the Dallas Cowboys. He's a co-owner in the brand. Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys came in 2017 and is a co-owner in the brand. And so we had some people believe in us really early on in the journey, which gave me the confidence to grow the business. But then things happen. We award a bunch of franchise licenses. COVID hits. We're shut down for business, for a while, but then it was kind of hard getting things back going again. And so we are now, here in 2024 and going into 2025, franchising again, awarding licenses, growing, and we've got 12 locations open right now, and we'll probably have 17, 18 locations open by the end of next year.
Yeah, beautiful. Mm-hmm. Share a little bit about your vetting process. Like, how do you choose your franchisees?
Yeah, I think as you talk to franchisors, so the terminology is, franchisor is the company that's franchising, and then the franchisee is the, local business owner. So when you talk to franchisors that are out there franchising, they are going to absolutely love franchising because they've gotten lucky and awarded franchises to all the most amazing people, and that's very short-lived. So if you talk to a franchisor that says everything about franchising is great, they probably haven't been franchising very long. If you talk to some franchisors that have been doing it a really long time, they may be at the complete opposite end of the spectrum and say franchising is awful, don't do it, it's so terrible, you give your business and your brand to people and they totally destroy it. My perspective, and I've heard both of those, is definitely not in either of those extremes. Franchising is the right business model for the right business, for the right people. And the vetting process for a franchisee is the most critical. We have awarded licenses to people that were not good fits, and we knew they weren't good fits, and we did it anyway. And my partners and I said, this one's probably not going to be great, and we were right. And having the discipline as a young, emerging franchising brand to say no is absolutely critical because it will come back and bite you. There are just some people that are not a good fit for franchising, and I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like because it's not what you may think it is. But we go through and we've learned some lessons, and we're willing to say no, and we have said no many times over the last couple of years. the person that we say no to, and it's not the same for every brand, but I think it's the same for a lot. The person that comes in and says, I've got a lot of money, I own a bunch of franchises already, I see your concept is growing, is interesting, is viable for the next several years, and I'd like to diversify my portfolio by layering you into, my existing franchise empire. For us, that doesn't work at the Gents Place because we want someone that's really passionate about our brand first. They don't need to be working in it every day. There is like a semi-absentee owner model that works great. But they need to love what we're doing. They need to love the philanthropic work that we're doing. They need to love that we're changing people's lives fundamentally. We're changing them, we're causing them to feel more positive, confident, and empowered. And they're rallying around what we believe in. And it's not a diversification. We're not a diversification tool. We don't want to be kind of treated like that. We're not a tool in someone's investment portfolio. Other people that own yogurt shops or Subways or whatever, that's what they're looking for. Hey, you own 10 Capriati sandwiches and 20 of these and 30 Orange Theory Fitness. We would love for you to own 10 of ours because we don't have maybe that purpose to our brand. We're a yogurt shop and we're all about good yogurt, and we don't expect you to ever work behind the counter. So there is that vetting process that every franchisor needs to develop on their own based on who they are, because the candidate that we decline may be the best candidate in the world for another brand. But here's what I'll tell you. What I think is consistent for every franchisor in terms of vetting, and this is for your audience and people like the couple you're talking about and other people might, January is always, by the way, January 1st, people wake up and they're like, I hate my boss and I'm going to own my own business. And franchising is typically the next thing that they think about. As a franchisor, we do not want entrepreneurs in our system. Okay, and that's kind of counterintuitive. I would be the worst. Think about it. I would be the worst franchisee, because I'd say, "Oh, sign me up for the Gents Place," and then probably in the middle of training, I'd raise my hand and say, why are y'all doing it this way when you could do it this way? And you start changing the system before you've even listened and executed on it. You start to add. And my old boss, Mark Jones, said, listen, execute, add in that order. Listen to what I'm telling you. I've got experience you don't have. Yep. Execute, then add. So we try to keep entrepreneurs out. We want business owners, people that want to own their own business, and they want to partner with someone. So it's the guy or gal that wants to get into business and wants a partner to help them out and to fill in their gaps and fill in their weaknesses. And that person's really hard to find because we have to message out there, hey, you want to own your own business? And we kind of get them into the funnel. And then it's like, now we're trying to make sure you're not like Ben Davis.
Yeah. Right. But I remember reading a book, I can't remember the author, the success of McDonald's, and it's just the system. Like, you can walk into any McDonald's around the globe and you are going to get the same amount of napkin, the same amount of ketchup, the same amount of French fries in that small franchise container or large French fry container. Like, the systems are so black and white, and when the franchise owner can follow that system, that McDonald's is successful.
Yeah, and the food industry, there's so many franchise opportunities. The food industry has thousands of them. And what's really interesting about the difference between franchising in food versus franchising in service is that there's systems that are needed in every case to keep things consistent. The food industry, it's, in my opinion, now, of course, all the restaurant people are going to say, no way, but I have a lot of family in the restaurant business. I've worked there. I think that business is easier because you can control all of those inputs, which control the output, which is that hamburger or those French fries, whatever. And people are coming in to buy the food in a McDonald's, let's say, type environment. So we don't remember who the cashier was. We don't care if it's a different cashier every week that we go there, because we're going for the food, and it's easier to make that food consistent. So the inputs and the outputs are relatively easy. Nothing's easy, but relatively easy compared to the service business. Service business, you can make all of the inputs very consistent and systemized, the same products, the same software systems, the same training, same everything. But the output is always going to be different. It's always, because when you go in and have a haircut with the same person every 3 weeks, it's never going to be the same conversation. It's never going to be the same moods or attitudes. Something's going to be different. I mean,
never the time of the season. I mean, we just got done with the election, so the conversation right there at the Gents Place, all 12 of them today.
Yeah. And it's impossible. So as a franchisee, I'm not trying to scare people out of, service-based businesses, but as a franchisee, you have to have an appetite for things not being McDonald's hamburger perfect on the output.
Yeah.
That's also the beauty of the business. The beauty of the business is that you can change people's lives. You'll have, I look, one of my favorite things to do every morning is I look at all the feedback that comes in, and we get a lot of feedback. We get anywhere, just in 12 locations open, we'll get anywhere from 40 to 100 pieces of feedback a day.
Wow.
And some of it's really thoughtful. And you look that over and you go, wow, we changed this guy's entire day, week, month, life, because the output has discretion. Someone can show up and just light someone up and say, Lisa, what was the best thing about your your weekend or your trip with Jeff? And what do you love most about your kids? And what are you most looking forward to about this trip in Tuscany? And light people up where they leave and say, wow, you guys totally changed my perspective on my marriage, my business, my week, my month. And it's hard to get, I don't know if McDonald's has ever had that before, where someone took a bite of the hamburger and said, this hamburger changed my life.
I have two things to say about that around service. You are so good at it. Like, Ben, you are new to me, but you're not new to Jeff, my husband. And he said, as being a single dad in Frisco, Texas, being a CEO, it gets lonely. It gets hard. And he would go to your place, the Gents Place right there in Frisco, and he would just feel like, okay, life's going to be okay. Or he would have a couple of the same dudes that were there at the same time and just hang out with them. And I know you serve whiskey, so you'd have a whiskey and just be able to relax and just be around men and talk about men things and the challenges of being a single dad, the challenges of being a global CEO, business owner. And it helped him so much. I could even say it changed his life. During that segment of time that he was going in, it changed his life. It helped him so much. So that's what you're speaking to, that service-oriented business. And then he also said, and I quote him, he said, it wasn't just the air of masculinity. It wasn't just that oaky decor. And I think Lauren decorated for you, right? Yeah. Lauren, good job. And it wasn't the whiskey, and it wasn't even just getting the services. It was the entire feel that started from the employees as you walked in. So he said the training that you give your staff is apparent and very representative in the way everyone feels right from the second they walk in and even long after they left. Talk a little bit about the training. How do you ensure your staff is aligned?
Yeah, it's in giving you some of our secret sauce here, which I kind of held on to for years, but then I'm like, hey, we can give it away and people still won't be able to do it because they're not as passionate about this business as I am. There's just no one that is anywhere close. It is a fundamental shift in their perspective about what they actually are doing when they come to work every day. In this industry, it looks like they're coming in and giving haircuts. And that's what everybody else trains on. Give a haircut, give a perfect haircut, be the best at giving haircuts. Our team shows up selling emotions instead of haircuts. They believe they are state inducers and state changers. So when Jeff is coming in, it is by design, with intention, that we are helping him show up more positive, more confident, more empowered when he leaves than when he came in. And we have a training system that teaches them how to ask questions, how to use their physiology, how to change focus in a conversation. All of this training that goes into the ultimate goal of does he feel more positive, confident, and empowered when he left today than when he came in? If so, we did a great job. And nothing in there is, how does his hair look? Yeah. Because when we change how people feel and the haircut's not exactly what they want, they're going to come back in and tell us, hey, could you leave it a little shorter? Could you leave it a little longer? They're still going to buy a membership because they just love being around people. They may stop caring about what their hair looks like, and they just start caring more about being in our environment. So that's the main thing, is just the business that we're in. They know we are in a completely different business than everybody else. And we rally around that, we train around it, and that's where the magic comes. Is you can ask a gentleman, and this happened before, one question that could completely change his life. You know, we had this guy in Kansas City, and he sits in our chair, very wealthy, very well-known gentleman, and our hairstylist, we call grooming specialist, said, Mr. So-and-so, let me ask you something. What's your vision for yourself over the next 5 years? And he sat there and he's like, no one's ever asked me that before in his life, because he's so used to people coming to him saying, isn't it great? You're so amazing. I want to be you one day. No one's ever asked him a growth question. And so that man sold his business, literally because of us, sold his business, started a nonprofit, changed the entire trajectory of his life, and sent me an email and said, your hairstylist changed my life with one question.
That's profound. That's profound. And I can imagine the feeling that those staff members have as they leave work and they go home, and that sense of accomplishment, that sense of connection to who they helped that day. It just helps expand who they're being in the whole human spirit, the human condition, being the best that they can be for others. That whole element of service is so profound. I love it that that's the core of who you are and what you do at the Gents Place. And I see it because when I researched you, everything, you end everything with, we are here to serve.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about moving in now to Philanthropy, because I know that you and Lauren launched Operation Veteran.
Yeah, Operation Gentleman, yes.
Tell us about that. And then also just share, like, why is that so important to you and Lauren?
Yeah. There's really no better feeling in the world than serving someone else and them appreciating it. You know, you could serve someone and they don't care, and that still feels good. But serving someone and getting that response back, thank you, this really helped, and you know, this changed something for me, is the best feeling ever. I was just 2 days ago at our suit drive that we do every year. We collect suits all of September. This is our 8th year doing it. All of our members come and drop suits and business attire off. And then we go in November to Fort Cavazos, which is the largest military base in the country in Killeen, Texas. And we do a shopping experience for these veterans. And every year it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. We've got thousands and thousands of suits. And, you know, a couple days ago, we're having a conversation with the sergeant major who runs the entire soldier recovery unit. These are men and women transitioning from military life to civilian life because of trauma. Could be physical, mental, or both. And he's saying, I don't think you guys understand the difference that this makes. And let me tell you my own personal story. You know, I was 12 years in the military before I ever had to purchase a suit. I didn't know what size I wore. I didn't know what to buy, but I was faced with having to buy a suit, and I couldn't really afford it. And he's like, with inflation happening right now, these guys may not be able to afford suits. They've never worn one. They don't know what size they are. They're embarrassed by it. They were planning on being in the military, and then boom, something happened. They lost a leg. They got injured, something, and they're thrown into a place that they didn't anticipate being and never wanted to be. They wanted to be a soldier. They wanted to go out and serve. And so for us, it's just, we got addicted to it. When we started doing an event, which we've been doing now for the last 8 years as well, providing haircuts for the homeless here in Dallas. My wife and family and I go down every month. When we started doing that, and you could see right in front of you someone come in trauma, get a haircut and this whole experience, and then leave hugging you and saying, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go get that job. I really needed this. I've got an interview tomorrow. It becomes addicting. It's just an incredible feeling. So we've gotten ourselves involved in haircuts for homeless, which does touch a lot of veterans, unfortunately, or in our homeless population. We fund a meal to a homeless veteran for every annual membership that we sell at the Gents Place.
That's cool. Wow. And something
and
like 35,000 have been fed.
We're over 45 now. Yeah.
Over 45,000.
Yeah. Or the suit drive. So those are our three pillars that we really operate in: haircuts for homeless, the meals for the homeless veterans, and then the suit drive for veterans. But people have different callings and interests, and we encourage our team members. We pay for community service for them to go out and just spend time anywhere. If it's at the veterinarian office, whatever it is, if it's veterans, that's great. But we've made it part of our entire ethos to, if we are making, and I think I have this on my LinkedIn, is like, I make money to make a positive difference. That's the reason why I make money, is to make a positive difference. It's for no other purpose. It's not to buy something new. And so we've got that culture in our entire business, to where we direct people to what they're passionate about. It just so happens a lot of people are passionate about what Lauren and I are. And we had, 30 of our team members in Fort Cavazos this week flew in from all over the country and are posting on social media saying, wow, this is the most incredible feeling ever.
This is so cool. You are like one of my favorite people, okay? You and Lauren. This is remarkable. I love this. And one of the interviews I watched of you, you said that, it just makes me want to cry. Like the mindset of the veterans that come in and you tell them, you can have 3 suits. We have 3 suits for you. And they say, oh, no, let me just take one. I'm just taking one. No, you get 3 suits. No. Okay, I'll take 2. No, you get 3 suits. And you literally have to retrain their brain in front of them to say, you may receive 3 suits.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation on Monday with this sergeant major. It was he missed the event last year and couldn't come. And he's like, Ben, I was not going to come again today because I've got, called to this meeting and everything. But Anthony, who we've been putting on the event with, and Kyle said, you really need to come and meet Ben and Lauren. And he came and he's like, I'm so glad that I came. And I said, well, one of the things you can help me out with is, these guys are super humble. They don't want to take from anybody. They got into the military to serve others. And we run into the same issue every year. They walk in and we're like, what can we get for you? No, I'm good. It's like, no, you're here for the suit drive.
Yeah.
And then they only want to take one thing. And I was telling him, I said, please encourage these gentlemen and these women to accept what we're offering. Because it's very difficult for them to do that. But when they do and they experience what it's like to be given something, it gives you that perspective of how important it is to what they're doing to serve us, right? So receiving gifts is super hard for me because I was raised in a military family. I don't like it, but it's conscious effort. The better receiver of gifts I am, the more I understand how important it is for me to give something to somebody else.
That's beautiful. That reciprocal, receive and give and receive. Yeah. So we're going to put that in the show notes. So Operation Veteran, people can donate cash. They can donate suits. We'll put that in the show notes. We'll put the franchisee information in the show notes, and then the Gents Place locations in the show notes. So I can't let you go without asking what one of your staff members, see, I'm coachable, Ben. What one of your staff members asked that gentleman, Ben Davis, what's your vision for the next 5 years?
Yeah, so for us, I feel like we are I'm very like reinvigorated. I feel like we're just at the beginning of the Gents Place again, because we kind of came out of COVID. We took some time to not franchise. We intentionally didn't grow. The first time in my life where I was risk averse and said, we're going to take care of the people we have here, the business owners we have in our network. But we're growing, and we're probably going to finish this year awarding 8 additional franchises. And it's not about going out and getting the money and, conquering our competition. I can see every location we open, the positive impact we make. And like I said, I look at all of these reviews every day, and I'm just like, man, if we don't have a location in San Diego or Denver or wherever, these guys are missing out. They're just getting their hair cut. They don't have probably any place they can go in their life to get change their life, because that's what we're doing. But maybe it's just feeling a little bit better, and then we'll get them to believe that we're actually, making an impact in the trajectory of their life. So we're going to be opening franchises. The next 5 years for us is getting probably another 25 locations open and in the right markets, and continue to grow our philanthropic efforts. So we're trying to hit 100,000 meals served to homeless veterans sometime in the next 12 months. We're going to make our suit drive the biggest suit drive in the entire country for veterans. I'm certain of that. So it's not necessarily anything new. It's just making everything we have, bigger and better.
Yep, exponential growth. So you're very focused. You have your key core processes and goals, and then now it's just about expanding it and blowing it up and sharing
with the right people.
With the right people.
So I don't want any entrepreneurs, calling me and saying I want to be a part of this, because I'm going to say, go out.
Most of my followers are entrepreneurs, so we're
going to start
a lot of calls from entrepreneurs.
Go out and start Lisa's Place. You can be, and look, the reality is, Lisa, you can be an entrepreneur, but you've got to put your business owner partner hat on and be a good partner, and just know the rules of the game. Franchising is like being issued a driver's license. With that driver's license, there's some rules of the road. There's technically an expiration date. It's a 10-year period, and then you can renew it. But there's rules. Those rules keep you safe, keeps everybody else safe. It allows you a lot of discretion. You can get in your car and drive from Dallas to Seattle, Washington. No problem. But you can't speed, or don't speed too much, and you got to stay within the lines. And so that's what franchising is about. So people that are very entrepreneurial, that's fine. We just don't want them coming in with an idea before they listen and execute, because otherwise just start Lisa's Place. That sounds nice. That sounds like the Gents Place. Yeah. Start Jeff's Place. We'll support you in that.
I hear you. I actually get what you're saying. I really do, Ben, because I attract very high-level entrepreneurs. They're global business owners, and it can be challenging for them to receive advice or coaching from me who have never been in their shoes. However, I just say, trust the formula. I'm a psychologist. I created a 5-step mindset reset formula. Trust the formula. And you're just telling your franchisees to trust the system.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
and then add to it later. For us, that's where the entrepreneur comes out, and that we need is, we want you to add, because if you just listen and execute and that's all you do, you're like a robot. It's like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. We need people to add to make the business better and innovate, but you just have to go in order. And then you have credibility when you go in order, because you've been there, you've done it, you did everything you were supposed to do. Now you have a seat at the table to make some ads.
All right, I like it. I like it. Thank you so much, Ben. This has been a great time with you. I wanted to just ask, do you have anything, last comment, last nugget of wisdom from you for our listeners?
Well, I would love, I'm getting season 3 of my podcast launched at the beginning of next year. It is untrapped.com. So it's the Untrapped Entrepreneur. So I'd love for people to visit that if they're entrepreneurs and want to learn just how to navigate some of these crazy challenges that entrepreneurship gives you. And then, of course, the gentsplace.com. If we've got a location in your market, we would love to have you in and change how you feel when you leave our place.
Yeah, that's great. All right, we'll put Untrapped The Untrapped Entrepreneur in the show notes as well. The Untrapped
Awesome.
Entrepreneur. And I own Hope Publishing House, which is a publishing company. When is that book coming out?
Lauren and I joke about this.
Book.
Yeah, I think she's got to write one first because, she has all of these book ideas, and it's now a running joke because she said, I've got my next great book idea. And I said, it's going to be a bestseller like the 25 before that have never been written. So I think I might feel bad writing one before she does, but maybe I can
we'll talk to
send
Lauren
her over first.
I'm going to talk to her. Who knows? Maybe the both of you come to Tuscany. She gets so inspired. She starts writing her book with Hope Publishing House. Because here's the facts behind publishing, you guys. Are you ready for this? 87% of the walking planet say they want to write a book. And 0.03% actually write it and publish it. So when you write and publish a book, like we just had 3 authors just graduate from our program. One of them is #1 on Amazon's bestseller list. The other one's #6. These are in the 0.03% of the walking planet. But let me tell you, the one that got into #1, she lost her son to suicide 4 years ago. Let me tell you that woman's heart. Let me tell you the passion in every cell of that woman's body to help others, to help people move from grief to reclaimed joy again. And she literally created a formulaic approach to help people reclaim their joy again. Different modalities in psychology and in different methodologies, but she is passionate about helping other people. And that's why her book got on the #1 best-selling list. So when you have a story to share and you just have this fire in your heart to help people, you're the one that's going to be in the 0.03% and write your book. Oh my gosh, I just did a second commercial. I said I was only doing one.
I feel like I need to write a book now. I don't like being in. I like being in the 1% or 0.5%. I like being in those little ones because it means I'm not like everybody else. And I've always been different. My family's always accused me of that. I always want to do something that someone else wasn't doing. And so I don't want to be in the top 87% or whatever. That doesn't sound very interesting.
Exactly. That's not the contrarian in Ben Davis.
No. So that alone, I think I'm there.
We'll talk. All
right.
Thank you so much again. You guys, what a podcast show Ben Davis gave us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your story, your passion, your heart. And I think to sum it all up, we are here to serve. And my friend, you and Lauren, you are serving in such exceptional and remarkable ways. So thank you for your servant heart.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Lisa.
Mm-hmm. Goodbye, everybody. Are you ready to learn a formula to help you stop being stuck in fear and level up your productivity? To go from being overwhelmed to a high performer? To turn your scarcity mindset into an abundance magnet? Then you want to come to the Mastermind Retreat in Tuscany, Italy. You'll enjoy 6 magical days immersed in the beauty, the culture, the richness of the Tuscan countryside, Florence and Siena and San Gimignano. You'll mastermind with other like-minded people in a 13th century castle as you apply my Mindset Reset formula to recreate yourself, your business, and your life. There's only 2 spots left. Get registered today at lisajcoaching.com/retreats. And I'll see you in Tuscany.